state of the relationship with his family. He says King Charles will not take his calls, and Prince Harry apparently is desperate for reconciliation, but King Charles is rejecting.
They didn't need to say his name. They didn't need to issue a press release. In the world of British royalty, silence speaks louder than scandal. And this time, the message was unmistakable. Prince Harry is out. No throne, no ceremony, not even a seat in the crowd.
It's really pitiful, I have to say, Rita. Very sad. Prince Harry, as I've said to you before, had a great opportunity when he turned his life around, joined the British Army, and served with distinction in Afghanistan.
While the royal family paraded centuries of tradition at the 300th anniversary of the Order of the Bath, Harry was thousands of miles away, uninvited, unacknowledged, and erased. What happened that day wasn't just royal protocol.
There was no way to win this through the courts. Wish someone had told me that beforehand. Yeah, the decision has been a surprise as well as not a surprise.
It was a public exile, executed in silence, and broadcast to the world. This wasn't just about missing a ceremony. It was about being cut out of the royal narrative completely. And the deeper you look, the more brutal the truth becomes. On the surface, the 300th anniversary of the Order of the Bath was a royal spectacle, a perfectly polished event soaked in grandeur, history, and symbolism. Every robe, medal, and bowed head was choreographed down to the second. It was a celebration of legacy, loyalty, and military honor. And yet, as the trumpets blared and the cameras panned across the regal lineup, one thing stood out more than the shining gold and velvet.
He wants to get it reinstated.
Yes.
But his dad is not going to see him. The king.
So, quick backstory.
Please.
When Harry and Meghan left the royal family, they had their royal protection taken away.
Which is normal.
Yes,
Okay.
well, it was a totally...
Prince Harry wasn't there. He wasn't mentioned, referenced, or acknowledged. It was as if he had never existed. King Charles, Queen Camilla, Prince William, Princess Anne, they all took their places, unified and proud. William, in particular, stood tall in full ceremonial regalia, commanding attention with every step. The royal family was presenting its image to the world, strong, united, and forward-facing. The message was crystal clear. This is the monarchy now, and Harry is not part of it. What made it so devastating wasn't just the absence, it was the silence. There was no official statement, no explanation, just a lineup without him, as though he had been surgically removed from history.
The royal family and his official role, they said, we're not going to be paying for your security when you come over here. You know, you've left you're no longer a working royal, so you're not going to get the police force around you when you pay visits here.
For someone who once represented the modern face of royalty, an Afghan war veteran, a charitable powerhouse, this kind of omission wasn't accidental. It was calculated, a clean break without the mess of confrontation. But this wasn't the only move the crown had in store. While Harry watched from afar, Prince William stepped fully into the royal spotlight. Not just symbolically, but officially. During the same ceremony that so publicly erased his brother, William was named the new Great Master of the Order of the Bath, a prestigious title once held by King Charles himself. It wasn't just a ceremonial promotion, it was a silent coronation, a message wrapped in gold embroidery and ancient ritual. William is the future. There was no need for speeches or declarations.
Prince Harry has said he is devastated about losing his latest legal challenge over the security he receives when he's in the UK. The Duke of Sussex's taxpayer-funded protection was downgraded back in 2020.
William's elevation spoke volumes. He stood flanked by senior royals, wrapped in royal regalia, embodying stability and tradition. This wasn't just about honoring military service. This was about succession. About loyalty, about rewarding the son who never stepped out of line. As William took center stage, the royal family sent an unmistakable signal to the world and to Harry.
Unjustified and inferior treatment. But 3 judges at the Court of Appeal today rejected that appeal. Well, now, following that judgment, he's told the BBC that it is currently impossible.
This is the son we trust, the one we're building the future around. He didn't sell secrets. He didn't write tell-alls. He kept his head down and played the long game. And now, he's being rewarded not just with titles, but with legacy.
To the UK. He's also said that because of the current situation, his father, the King, isn't speaking to him. Well, Prince Harry is currently living in California, where he's been speaking to our correspondent Neda Tawfik, and we can bring you that extended interview now.
Meanwhile, Harry, once hailed as the People's Prince, is watching his royal relevance being stripped away in real time. This was more than a title transfer. It was the crown choosing its successor not just by blood, but by behavior. And the contrast couldn't be more cutting. But if William was the crown's new favorite, Harry was about to become its biggest problem. If the ceremony was a quiet exile, then Harry's BBC interview was the spark that lit the fire.
There was no way to win this through the courts. Wish someone had told me that beforehand. The decision has been a surprise as well as not a surprise.
He wants to get it reinstated.
Yes.
But his dad is not going to see him. The king.
So, quick backstory.
Please.
When Harry and Meghan left the royal family, they had their royal protection taken away.
Which is normal.
Yes,
Okay.
well, it was a totally...
Sitting across from the interviewer, Harry didn't hold back. He painted the monarchy as outdated, unkind, and even dangerous. He claimed King Charles wouldn't take his calls. He said he feared for his family's safety in the UK, and perhaps most explosively, he suggested the royal institution had emotionally harmed not only him, but others like him. Inside palace walls, this wasn't seen as vulnerability. It was viewed as betrayal. A member of the royal family airing grievances on national television isn't just frowned upon, it's treated like treason. The monarchy thrives on silence and discretion, and Harry had just gone public with a laundry list of accusations. His legal battle for taxpayer-funded security only deepened the tension. Harry argued that stepping back from royal duties didn't make him less of a target.
For the time being, it's impossible for me to take my family back to the UK safely.
You're obviously very deeply affected by this. What memories, experiences had you hoped your children, Archie and Lilibet?
He compared himself to former prime ministers, insisting he deserved protection, but the courts didn't agree, and neither did the monarchy. They made one thing clear: step away from the firm, and you lose its shield. Worse still, insiders claimed Harry had rejected security offered within royal grounds. He wanted protection on his own terms, not theirs. To the palace, that was the ultimate insult. The crown viewed it not as a plea for safety, but as a power play, and they weren't interested in bending the rules for a rebel. But Harry wasn't done talking, and the memoir he dropped next would push things beyond repair. Just 4 days after being shut out of the Order of the Bath ceremony, Prince Harry dropped his most explosive move yet: exiled. What they tried to hide. The timing was no accident.
Well, for a start, the only time that I've come back to the UK is sadly for funerals or court cases, with the odd charitable function where I can in between that. I put myself at risk for that, but I will continue on with a life of public service, so I will always support the charities and the people that mean so much to me.
He released the memoir on Bonfire Night, a British holiday marking rebellion against the crown. Symbolic-y? Absolutely. This wasn't a book. It was a declaration of war. Exiled peeled back the curtain on royal life with surgical precision. Harry didn't just rehash old wounds, he ripped them wide open. He wrote about the pain of being denied entry to the ceremony, about feeling humiliated and erased from a family he once fought for. But the real shock came when he finally revealed the name of the senior royal who allegedly questioned his son Archie's skin tone, something that had only been whispered until now. The public reaction was immediate and fiery. Social media exploded. News headlines screamed betrayal. Supporters rallied behind Harry, but just as many turned on him. Some saw a brave truth-teller. Others saw a man cashing in on family pain. The divide was brutal, but the royal family? Dead silent.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they...
No rebuttals, no clarifications, just a blank page where a response should have been. That silence wasn't apathy. It was power. The monarchy knew that any comment would only fuel the flames. Instead, they let Harry burn in his own spotlight while they stood untouched behind palace walls. But when King Charles reached out with a private invitation, many believed a reconciliation was finally near. They were wrong. Following the firestorm ignited by Exiled, the royal family made a move that caught everyone off guard. Behind the scenes, King Charles extended a private invitation to Harry. On paper, it looked like a white flag. A rare chance for father and son to speak without cameras or press. But according to insiders, this wasn't about healing. It was about containment.
And I think that it's really quite sad that I won't be able to show, my children my homeland.
And as you say, you've gone back several times during this years-long battle. What about the security arrangements that were in place made you feel it would be unsafe for you and your family?
Palace sources claimed the goal wasn't reconciliation. It was damage control. After the memoir's shocking revelations, the crown was under pressure. Charles's invitation was reportedly an effort to pull Harry back into the fold. Not out of warmth, but strategy. The plan? Get him in a room, cool the fire, and convince him to stop airing dirty laundry on the global stage. But Harry wasn't buying it. He saw through the gesture and refused to play along. No carefully staged photo ops. No behind-the-curtain promises. Just a firm no. To him, the invitation wasn't about mending fences. It was about silencing his voice. And he wasn't interested in being handled. That refusal sent shockwaves through royal circles. For the firm, it confirmed that Harry had become unpredictable, uncontrollable, and possibly dangerous to their carefully guarded image. For Harry, it was another nail in the coffin of a family he once believed he could return to. The meeting that could have rewritten the narrative never happened. And from that moment on, it was clear. Harry wasn't just estranged, he was out. But if Harry had burned bridges, Meghan was the one many blamed for lighting the match. In the court of public opinion, and within palace corridors, Meghan Markle has often been cast as the architect of Harry's rebellion.
For reasons to not have that review. And a major part of that is because you're no longer a working royal, a change in your status. Do you not accept that from the court?
Well, my status hasn't changed.
While Harry took center stage in interviews and lawsuits, whispers inside the monarchy pointed fingers directly at Meghan. They painted her not just as an outsider, but as the force that drove a wedge between Harry and everything he once stood for. Royal insiders didn't mince words. They accused Meghan of turning Harry against his family, of prioritizing fame over duty, and of orchestrating media deals that turned royal drama into profit. From the Netflix docuseries to Spotify deals to publishing contracts, every move was framed as a cash grab. And for those loyal to the crown, that kind of behavior wasn't just tacky, it was treasonous. But the criticism didn't stop there. One palace source went as far as to claim that Harry's repeated outbursts and public attacks caused significant emotional strain on Queen Elizabeth during her final years. That statement, however speculative, hit like a hammer. For many in the UK, the Queen wasn't just a monarch. She was a symbol of endurance.
I am part of what I'm part of, and I can never escape that. My circumstances will always be the same. But with a specific answer to the question, there are comparisons that exist.
Suggesting Harry and Meghan hastened her decline crossed a line that royal traditionalists would never forget or forgive. Meghan, for her part, remained silent publicly, letting Harry take the spotlight. But behind the scenes, tabloids and royal commentators claimed she controlled the narrative, steered the interviews, and pulled the strings. Whether that's truth or convenient scapegoating is up for debate. What's not up for debate is the effect. Her image within the royal ecosystem has gone from unwelcome to outright villainized. But while blame swirled around Meghan, the palace was executing a quiet, devastating strategy of its own. While Harry spoke to the world through interviews, courtrooms, and memoirs, the royal family responded with an even sharper weapon: silence. No statements, no clarifications, no rebuttals. Instead, they did what they've done for centuries: used tradition, symbolism, and exclusion to tell their story. It wasn't loud, it was surgical and devastating. This strategy was on full display at the Order of the Bath ceremony.
Again, I have to be careful what I say, but I think it would be quite shocking for the British public and the public at large to understand or know that, in fact many people do know this, that people who leave public office receive lifetime protection, regardless of whether there are threats or risks to them.
The Crown didn't need to publicly denounce Harry. They simply didn't include him. No name in the program. No seat reserved. No photo on the palace walls. In royal terms, omission is execution. And for Harry, this was as final as it gets. The firm's approach wasn't fueled by emotion. It was rooted in preservation. Their priority has never been personal feelings. It's always been the institution. By keeping Harry out of sight and out of narrative, the Crown was protecting its brand. Stability over scandal, legacy over lineage, and silence over spectacle. Internally, this tactic serves another purpose. It forces loyalty through fear. Speak out, and you're gone. Defy tradition, and you're forgotten. Even royal blood isn't enough to save you once you step outside the rules. And Harry, once celebrated for his modern appeal, was now the clearest example of what happens when you go rogue. For the public, it was chilling. No royal drama, no emotional pleas. Just a clean, quiet edit.
Normal situation, and they said, and they were warned, if you leave, you don't get taxpayer protection because you are not a member of the working family. They said, fine, we're leaving.
The monarchy turned the page, and Harry was no longer in the story. And with the family moving forward without him, the future of the Crown became crystal clear. If there was still any doubt about where the royal family stands, the 300th anniversary of the Order of the Bath erased it completely. The pageantry wasn't just for show, it was a declaration. This wasn't just about celebrating British tradition. It was about reinforcing a future that no longer includes Prince Harry. And at the center of that vision stood Prince William, calm, composed, and ready. William didn't need to say a word. His presence did the talking. As he took on the role of Great Master, a title once held by King Charles, the symbolism was impossible to miss. The crown was passing quietly, but deliberately. The heir wasn't just being prepped for the throne. He was being positioned as the soul of the monarchy itself.
The thing that's going on in Prince Harry's head, and I feel very sorry for him if he can't grasp this. If people around you know that you're likely to run and broadcast what they say in private to the world.
Reliable, loyal, and most importantly, still there. Harry, meanwhile, sat across the ocean, effectively ghosted by the institution he once called family. His exclusion wasn't temporary, it was strategic. The monarchy is streamlining, and emotional baggage has no place in the new order. No reconciliation, no olive branches, just silence, reinforced by centuries of protocol and a steely gaze toward the future. Even whispers of King Charles's health haven't changed the dynamic. In moments when families often come together, the royal family instead hardened its position. The legacy they're protecting now is one of control, continuity, and discretion. And Harry's chapter has been sealed off permanently. This wasn't just about the past, it was about shaping the next era of royalty. And in that era, there is no room for uncertainty. No room for public breakdowns or off-script memoirs. No room for the prince who walked away. But as Harry stands in the shadows of the monarchy he once called home, one question still lingers. Is this truly the end of his royal story, or the beginning of something far more unpredictable? Prince Harry's royal chapter didn't end with a scandal or a dramatic exit. It ended with silence. The silence so deliberate, so cutting, it spoke louder than any interview or tabloid headline ever could. The monarchy didn't need to publicly exile him. They simply moved on, rewriting the royal story as if he were never a part of it. This wasn't just rejection, It was erasure. From the Order of the Bath ceremony to William's public rise, every move has signaled one cold truth. The crown is choosing loyalty over lineage, image over inclusion, and tradition over ties. No matter how many memoirs Harry writes or interviews he gives, the institution has already closed the book on him. And what makes it even more striking is the method. There were no explosive confrontations, no royal shouting matches, no teary reunions gone wrong, just omission. An empty seat, a name left out, a legacy that moves forward without him. Yet, Harry's voice continues to echo from across the Atlantic. Whether he's viewed as a truth-teller or a traitor, a victim or a rebel, one thing is certain. His presence outside the palace walls remains loud, and the louder he speaks, the quieter the crown becomes. This is the monarchy's ultimate move. Let the rebel talk himself into irrelevance, while they tighten their grip on the narrative. It's not about whether Harry is right or wrong, it's about control. And in that battle, the royal family always plays the long game. So where does that leave Harry? Still a prince by birth. Still a symbol to millions. But in the eyes of the monarchy, he's now something else entirely. A cautionary tale.